This video contains audio content only. There are no visual elements or images accompanying the audio. If you're expecting to see video footage, please note that this is an intentional audio-only presentation. We recommend listening to this content rather than watching the screen. Thank you for your understanding and enjoy the audio. Welcome, science enthusiasts and curious minds. Today, we're diving into some fascinating recent research on the evolution of birds and their dinosaur ancestors. We'll be exploring several exciting topics that shed new light on how birds emerged from a group of dinosaurs called Maniraptoran theropods millions of years ago. The origin of birds is one of the most dramatic evolutionary transitions in the history of life on Earth. It's a story of how small, meat-eating dinosaurs gradually developed feathers, wings, and the ability to fly over millions of years. Recent fossil discoveries and new analytical techniques have revolutionized our understanding of this process. In this video, we'll look at evidence for when and how key bird-like features first evolved in dinosaurs. We'll explore the diversity of feathered dinosaurs that lived alongside early birds. And we'll examine how studying modern bird anatomy and genetics can inform our understanding of their extinct relatives. Whether you're a paleontology buff or just curious about the natural world, I think you'll find plenty to fascinate you here. By the end, you'll have a broad overview of what current research tells us about the dinosaur-bird transition and bird origins. You'll gain insights into how scientists piece together evidence from fossils, genetics, and living animals to reconstruct evolutionary history. So get ready for a journey through deep time as we uncover the origins of some of the most remarkable animals on the planet, the birds. Let's get started by looking at some of the key research areas. Topic 1. Feather evolution in dinosaurs. Our first topic explores one of the most iconic features of birds, their feathers. But feathers didn't evolve for flight originally. Recent fossil discoveries have revealed a diversity of feather types in non-flying dinosaurs, giving us new insights into how and why feathers first evolved. Early feather-like structures appear to have evolved in dinosaurs over 200 million years ago, long before the origin of birds or powered flight. The earliest feathers were simple filaments, similar to the down of modern birds. Over time, more complex branching structures evolved, eventually developing into the flight feathers we see in modern birds. Research suggests that feathers originally evolved for insulation and display, only later being co-opted for flight. Many non-flying dinosaurs had elaborate feather coverings, including some with iridescent feathers or long ornamental plumes. This indicates that visual display was likely an important function early in feather evolution. Some of the most exciting fossil discoveries have come from China, where exquisitely preserved specimens show details of feather structure and coloration. Advanced imaging techniques have even revealed traces of pigment-containing structures in some fossils, allowing researchers to reconstruct the colors and patterns of extinct dinosaurs. The evolution of pennaceous feathers, those with a central shaft and interlocking barbs, was a key innovation. These feathers create the airfoil surface needed for powered flight. Research indicates that pennaceous feathers evolved in Maniraptoran dinosaurs before the origin of birds, likely for purposes such as insulation or display before being adapted for aerial locomotion. Interestingly, some dinosaur groups independently evolved different types of feather-like integumentary structures. For example, pterosaurs, flying reptiles that were not directly related to birds, developed a fuzzy covering of pycnofibers that may have served similar functions to early dinosaur feathers. Understanding feather evolution provides important context for the origin of birds. It shows that many bird-like features emerged gradually in dinosaurs over millions of years, rather than appearing suddenly with the first birds. The diversity of feathered dinosaurs also blurs the distinction between bird and non-bird, showing that the transition was a continuum rather than a sharp dividing line. Topic 2. Skeletal adaptations for flight. While feathers were a crucial innovation for flight, the bird body plan required numerous skeletal modifications as well. Our next topic examines how key skeletal features associated with flight capabilities evolved in the theropod dinosaur lineage leading to birds. One important area of skeletal evolution was the forelimb. The arms of bird-like theropods became progressively more wing-like over time. This involved elongation of the hand bones, reduction in the number of fingers, and changes to the shoulder joint to allow a wider range of motion. The wrist was another key area of modification. Maniraptoran dinosaurs evolved a half-moon-shaped wrist bone that allowed the hand to fold against the forearm, similar to a bird's wing. This semilunate carpal was present in dinosaurs like Velociraptor, showing that some flight-related adaptations preceded powered flight itself. The breastbone or sternum became enlarged in bird-like dinosaurs to anchor the flight muscles. In early birds, it developed into the prominent keel seen in modern flying birds. The wishbone or furcula, actually the fused collarbones, also became more prominent, helping to strengthen the shoulder region for flapping. To provide stability during flight, the tail of bird-like dinosaurs became shorter and stiffer over time. Early birds like Archaeopteryx still had a long bony tail, but later forms evolved the short, fused tailbones, pygostyle, seen in modern birds. This supported a fan of tail feathers that could be used for steering and braking in flight. The pelvis and hind limbs also underwent changes related to the demands of flight. The pubic bone rotated backwards in bird-like dinosaurs, eventually pointing towards the tail as in modern birds. The legs became lighter and the feet more suited for perching. Pneumatization, the invasion of bones by air sacs connected to the lungs, increased in bird-like dinosaurs. This helped lighten the skeleton, an important adaptation for flight. The unique respiratory system of birds, with flow-through lungs and extensive air sacs, also has its origins in non-avian theropods. Studying these skeletal changes gives researchers insights into how flight capabilities may have evolved. Some scientists propose that flight evolved through an intermediate gliding stage. Others suggest it may have developed from behaviors like wing-assisted incline running. The fossil record shows a mosaic pattern of adaptation, with flight-related features appearing at different times rather than all at once. It's important to note that not all of these skeletal modifications were directly related to flight at first. Some may have evolved for other purposes and were later co-opted for aerial locomotion. This concept of exaptation, where a trait evolved for one function is repurposed for another, is an important principle in understanding evolutionary transitions like the origin of birds. Topic 3. Diversity of early birds and bird-like dinosaurs. Our next topic explores the amazing diversity of early birds and their close dinosaurian relatives that lived during the Mesozoic era, particularly in the Cretaceous period about 145 to 66 million years ago. Recent fossil discoveries have revealed a much greater variety of bird-like creatures than previously known, blurring the line between bird and dinosaur. One of the most significant fossil sites for understanding early bird evolution is the Jehol biota of northeastern China. These fossil beds have yielded numerous exquisitely preserved specimens of early birds and feathered dinosaurs, many with soft tissues like feathers still intact. The diversity of forms found here has revolutionized our understanding of the dinosaur-bird transition. Among the most famous fossils from this region are the four-winged dinosaurs like Microraptor. These small, feathered dinosaurs had long flight feathers on both their arms and legs, forming four wing-like surfaces. This unexpected body plan has led to debates about the evolution of flight. Did four-winged gliding precede powered flight in two ways, or was it an evolutionary side branch? Another group of interest is the Scansoriopterygids, small feathered dinosaurs with unusually long third fingers. Some had a rod-like bone extending from the wrist that supported a membrane between the arms and body, somewhat like a flying squirrel. These strange creatures show the diversity of body plans that evolved as dinosaurs experimented with aerial capabilities. Early birds themselves came in a variety of forms. Some, like Confuciusornis, had already evolved a toothless beak similar to modern birds. Others, like the Enantiornate hinds or opposite birds, retained teeth and clawed fingers on their wings. These birds were incredibly diverse and successful, found on every continent, but went extinct along with the non-avian dinosaurs at the end of the Cretaceous. One particularly interesting group is the Jeholornithiforms, represented by creatures like Jeholorni. These early birds had long, bony tails unlike modern birds, but had already evolved many other avian features. They may represent a side branch in bird evolution, showing the diversity of forms that existed as birds were first evolving. It's important to note that this diversity wasn't limited to small, bird-like forms. Some larger dinosaurs, like the ostrich-sized Gigantoraptor, had feathers and bird-like features despite being much too large to fly. This shows that many avian characteristics evolved for reasons other than flight and were widely distributed among theropod dinosaurs. The sheer variety of forms found in the fossil record challenges our preconceptions about the evolutionary transition from dinosaurs to birds. Rather than a straight-line progression, we see a bush of evolutionary experimentation, with many different groups of dinosaurs independently evolving bird-like traits. This diversity also raises interesting questions about extinction and survival. Why did some groups of early birds and bird-like dinosaurs go extinct, while others survived to give rise to modern birds? The answer likely involves a complex interplay of ecology, anatomy, and chance events like the end Cretaceous mass extinction. Topic 4. Flight capabilities and behaviors in early birds. Understanding how and when powered flight evolved in the dinosaur bird lineage is a major area of research. Our next topic delves into what we know about the flight capabilities of early birds and how scientists study this question. One approach to understanding early bird flight is through detailed anatomical studies of fossils. By examining features like wing shape, feather structure, and skeleton, researchers can make inferences about flight capabilities. Early birds like Archaeopteryx, for instance, had relatively short, broad wings compared to many modern birds. This suggests they may have been better suited for short bursts of flight rather than long-distance soaring. Another important line of evidence comes from studying the brain anatomy of fossil birds and their dinosaur relatives. CT scanning of fossil skulls has revealed that bird-like dinosaurs and early birds had enlarged regions of the brain associated with visual processing and motor control. These neurological adaptations would have been crucial for the complex task of flying. Biomechanical modeling is another powerful tool for studying early bird flight. By creating computer models based on fossil anatomy, researchers can simulate how these ancient creatures might have moved and flown. These studies suggest that some early birds may have been limited to gliding or short flapping flights, while others had capabilities more similar to modern birds. One intriguing hypothesis is that flight may have evolved through an intermediate stage of wing-assisted incline running. This idea suggests that feathered forelimbs may have first been used to help small, running dinosaurs scramble up inclined surfaces, only later evolving into tools for true flight. Some modern birds like young chukars use their developing wings in this way, providing a possible model for how flight may have evolved. The question of whether early birds were capable of powered flight or limited to gliding has been debated. Evidence from the shoulder joints of some early birds suggests they may have lacked the range of motion needed for the full flight stroke of modern birds. However, other anatomical features indicate adaptations for powered flight. The truth may be that different early bird groups had varying levels of flight capability. An important consideration is that flight ability isn't binary. There's a continuum from ground-dwelling to gliding to full-powered flight. Many modern birds, like chickens or turkeys, are capable of short bursts of flight but aren't strong flyers. Early birds likely occupied various points along this spectrum. Research also suggests that once flight evolved, it was lost multiple times in different bird lineages. Studies of bird-like theropod dinosaurs indicate that some groups may have evolved from flying ancestors but lost the ability to fly as they increased in size. This demonstrates the evolutionary flexibility of flight as a trait. Understanding early bird flight also requires considering the environments in which these animals lived. The Mesozoic world was very different from today, with different atmospheric conditions and plant life. Some researchers have suggested that higher oxygen levels in the Cretaceous might have made flight easier, potentially allowing a greater diversity of flying creatures. Topic 5. Miniaturization and the origin of birds. An intriguing aspect of bird evolution is the trend towards miniaturization in the theropod lineage leading to birds. Our next topic explores this phenomenon and its implications for the origin of flight and modern bird diversity. Fossil evidence shows that the dinosaur lineage leading to birds underwent a prolonged period of size reduction over tens of millions of years. While many dinosaur groups were evolving towards larger sizes, the Maniraptoran theropods that gave rise to birds were getting smaller. This miniaturization trend continued within early birds, with some Mesozoic birds being among the smallest dinosaurs known. Several factors may have driven this reduction in size. Smaller body size could have been advantageous for animals adapting to arboreal, tree-dwelling lifestyles. It would have also reduced the power requirements for powered flight, making it easier for proto-birds to take to the air. Additionally, smaller size may have allowed for more efficient thermoregulation, which would become important as birds evolved towards warm-bloodedness. Miniaturization had profound effects on bird anatomy and physiology. Smaller body size is associated with relative brain size increase, potentially contributing to the higher intelligence seen in birds compared to their reptilian relatives. It also affected growth rates. While most dinosaurs took years to reach adult size, the smallest bird-like dinosaurs and early birds could have reached maturity within months, more like modern birds. The small size of bird ancestors may have been crucial in allowing them to survive the end Cretaceous mass extinction that wiped out the non-avian dinosaurs. Smaller animals generally fare better in extinction events, possibly due to lower food requirements and greater ecological flexibility. The small size of early birds may have allowed them to weather the post-impact climate changes and flourish in the aftermath. Interestingly, the trend towards miniaturization reversed after the origin of birds. While the earliest birds were very small, some subsequent groups evolved larger sizes. However, the small sizes attained in the dinosaur-bird transition opened up new ecological niches that allowed for the great diversity of bird forms we see today, from tiny hummingbirds to large flightless birds like ostriches. Research into miniaturization also provides insights into the physiological changes that occurred during bird evolution. Small body size is associated with higher metabolic rates, and the fossil record shows evidence of increased metabolism in the dinosaur lineage leading to birds. This ties into broader questions about the evolution of warm-bloodedness in the dinosaur bird lineage. Understanding the process of miniaturization in bird evolution has implications beyond paleontology. It provides a case study in how body size changes can drive major evolutionary innovations and allow organisms to adapt to new ecological niches. This research may offer insights relevant to understanding other major evolutionary transitions in the history of life. Topic 6. Molecular and developmental insights into bird evolution. While fossils provide crucial evidence about bird evolution, modern molecular and developmental biology techniques are offering exciting new insights. Our next topic explores how studying the genes and development of modern birds is helping us understand their evolutionary history. One powerful approach is to examine the genomes of modern birds and compare them to those of their living relatives, like crocodiles. This allows researchers to infer what genetic changes occurred during bird evolution. For example, studies have shown that birds have a more compact genome than other reptiles, having lost many genes and non-coding DNA sequences. This genome streamlining may have been related to the metabolic demands of powered flight. Developmental biology is another rich source of information about evolutionary history. By studying how modern bird embryos develop, researchers can gain insights into how bird-specific traits evolved. For instance, studies of limb development in bird embryos have shed light on how the bird wing evolved from a dinosaur arm. One fascinating area of research involves atavisms, the reappearance of ancestral traits. Occasionally, chickens are born with teeth-like structures or lizard-like tails. By studying the genetic and developmental basis of these rare occurrences, scientists can learn about the evolutionary changes that led to the loss of teeth and tails in modern birds. Molecular clock techniques, which use DNA differences to estimate when species diverged, have been applied to bird evolution. These studies suggest that the major lineages of modern birds began to diversify before the end Cretaceous extinction, implying that many bird groups survived this event and rapidly evolved to fill newly available ecological niches. Evolutionary developmental biology, or EVO-DEVO, combines evolutionary and developmental perspectives. This field has revealed that many of the differences between birds and other reptiles result from changes in when and where certain genes are active during development, rather than from entirely new genes. This helps explain how major evolutionary changes can occur relatively rapidly. Studies of gene regulation in birds and their relatives have identified some of the genetic changes responsible for key avian traits. For example, researchers have found differences in the activity of genes involved in beak development between different bird species, helping to explain the diversity of beak shapes in modern birds. Another interesting area is the study of the genes involved in feather development. By comparing these genes in birds and other reptiles, researchers have gained insights into how complex feathers evolved from simpler reptilian scales. Some of the genes involved in feather development have been found to have other roles in reptilian scale development, supporting the idea that feathers evolved through modification of existing developmental pathways. The evolution of flight has also been studied from a genetic perspective. Researchers have identified genes involved in the development of flight muscles and the lightweight, hollow bones characteristic of birds. Some of these genes show evidence of rapid evolution in the lineage leading to birds, suggesting they were important in the evolution of powered flight. Comparative genomics has revealed that birds have lost a number of genes compared to other vertebrates. Some of these lost genes are involved in egg yolk production, likely reflecting changes in reproductive strategies as birds evolved. Others are related to teeth formation, corresponding to the loss of teeth in modern birds. Epigenetics, changes in gene activity that don't involve changes to the DNA sequence, is another area providing insights into bird evolution. Studies have shown that some bird-specific traits may result from changes in epigenetic regulation of genes shared with other reptiles, rather than from new genes. These molecular and developmental approaches complement traditional paleontology, providing a more complete picture of bird evolution. They allow us to understand not just what changed during bird evolution, but how those changes occurred at a genetic and developmental level. This integrative approach is giving us an increasingly detailed understanding of one of the most remarkable evolutionary transitions in the history of life. Topic 7. The timing and pattern of bird origins. Our next topic delves into what current research tells us about when birds first evolved and how rapidly they diversified. This is an area where evidence from fossils, molecular studies, and statistical modeling all contribute to our understanding. The oldest known fossil universally accepted as a bird is Archaeopteryx, dating to about 150 million years ago in the late Jurassic period. However, the presence of bird-like features in older theropod dinosaurs suggests that the transition to birds began earlier. Some researchers argue that animals that could be considered birds may have evolved as early as 170 million years ago. Molecular clock studies, which use DNA differences between species to estimate when they diverged, generally support an origin of birds in the middle to late Jurassic. However, these studies often suggest that the major groups of modern birds began to diversify somewhat earlier than the fossil record indicates, possibly in the early Cretaceous. One of the big questions in bird evolution is how rapidly the transition from non-avian dinosaurs to birds occurred. Some studies suggest it was a relatively rapid process, with key avian features evolving over a period of 10 to 15 million years. Others argue for a more gradual transition spanning 50 million years or more. The truth may lie somewhere in between, with different avian traits evolving at different rates. Another important question is when the major groups of modern birds first appeared. For many years, it was thought that modern bird groups evolved and diversified rapidly after the end Cretaceous mass extinction, in what's known as an explosive radiation. However, more recent studies suggest that many modern bird lineages actually originated in the Cretaceous, before the extinction event, even if they didn't diversify significantly until afterwards. The end Cretaceous mass extinction, which wiped out the non-avian dinosaurs about 66 million years ago, clearly had a major impact on bird evolution. Many groups of Mesozoic birds went extinct at this time. However, a few lineages survived and went on to produce the diversity of birds we see today. Understanding why these particular lineages survived when others didn't is an active area of research. The early Cenozoic era, immediately following the extinction event, saw a rapid diversification of bird groups. This period, sometimes called the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum, was characterized by warm temperatures and expanding forests, providing new opportunities for bird evolution. Many of the major groups of modern birds appear in the fossil record during this time. It's important to note that the evolutionary relationships between the major groups of modern birds are still debated. Different studies have produced conflicting results, particularly regarding the earliest divergences in the bird family tree. This bush-like pattern of divergence suggests that the early diversification of modern birds may have happened relatively rapidly, making the relationships difficult to resolve. Biogeography, the study of how species are distributed geographically, also provides insights into bird evolution. The breakup of the supercontinent Gondwana during the Cretaceous period likely influenced the early diversification of birds, as populations became isolated on different continents. This may help explain some of the patterns we see in the distribution of modern bird groups. Statistical modeling approaches are increasingly being used to study the pattern of bird evolution. These methods can help researchers estimate rates of evolution and diversification, and test hypotheses about how these rates may have changed over time. Some studies suggest that birds underwent periods of rapid evolutionary change interspersed with periods of relative stasis. Understanding the timing and pattern of bird origins is crucial for placing bird evolution in its broader ecological and geological context. It allows us to consider how factors like climate change, continental drift, and interactions with other organisms may have influenced the evolution of birds. This big-picture view helps us appreciate the complex interplay of factors that shape one of the most successful groups of vertebrates on Earth. Topic 8. Convergent evolution and the bird body plan. Our final topic explores the fascinating phenomenon of convergent evolution in the context of bird evolution. Convergent evolution occurs when similar traits evolve independently in different lineages, often as adaptations to similar environmental pressures. This process has played a significant role in shaping the diversity of birds and bird-like creatures we see in the fossil record and today. One of the most striking examples of convergence in bird evolution is the repeated evolution of flightlessness. Flightless birds have evolved multiple times from flying ancestors, in groups as diverse as ostriches, penguins, and island-dwelling species like the dodo. Each of these lineages has independently evolved similar features, such as reduced wing bones and more robust legs. This demonstrates how similar ecological pressures can lead to similar evolutionary outcomes. Interestingly, some non-avian theropod dinosaurs also evolved bird-like features convergently. For example, oviraptorosaurs developed beaks and in some cases elaborate head crests, similar to those seen in some modern birds. Some dromaeosaurids evolved asymmetrical flight feathers similar to those of flying birds, despite not being directly ancestral to birds. These examples show that many features we associate with birds evolved multiple times in different theropod lineages. The evolution of powered flight itself may represent a case of convergent evolution. Some researchers argue that the ability to fly may have evolved independently in different groups of Maniraptoran dinosaurs. This hypothesis suggests that birds as we define them today might not represent a single evolutionary lineage, but rather a grade of evolution achieved independently by several groups. Another intriguing case of convergence involves the Avialan rhonovis and the dromaeosaurid Microraptor. Both had flight feathers on their legs as well as their arms, forming a four-winged body plan. This suggests that a four-winged gliding stage may have been a common step in the evolution of flight in different Maniraptoran lineages. Convergent evolution is also seen in modern birds. For example, hummingbirds in the Americas and sunbirds in Africa and Asia have independently evolved similar adaptations for nectar feeding, including long beaks and the ability to hover. Similarly, birds of prey on different continents have evolved comparable adaptations for hunting, despite not being closely related. The phenomenon of island gigantism, where some birds evolved to be much larger than their mainland relatives, has occurred independently on many islands. Examples include the extinct moa of New Zealand and the elephant birds of Madagascar. This demonstrates how similar ecological conditions can drive parallel evolutionary trends in distantly related groups. Studying convergent evolution in birds and their relatives provides insights into the predictability of evolution. It suggests that certain adaptive solutions may be repeatedly discovered by evolution when organisms face similar environmental challenges. This has implications for our understanding of evolutionary processes in general. Convergence also complicates efforts to reconstruct evolutionary relationships. Traits that evolved convergently can be mistaken for signs of common ancestry, potentially leading to incorrect conclusions about evolutionary relationships. This underscores the importance of considering multiple lines of evidence, including genetic data, when studying evolutionary history. The repeated evolution of bird-like features in different theropod lineages raises interesting questions about evolutionary potential and constraint. It suggests that the theropod body plan was particularly well suited to evolving bird-like features, perhaps helping to explain why birds were the only dinosaur group to survive the end Cretaceous extinction. Understanding convergent evolution is also important for interpreting the fossil record. When we find fossils with bird-like features, we need to carefully consider whether these features evolved independently or indicate a close relationship to modern birds. This requires considering the full suite of anatomical features, not just individual traits. As we wrap up our exploration of recent research on bird evolution, let's recap some of the key points we've covered and consider their broader implications. We've seen how the origin of birds was a gradual process, with many bird-like features evolving in non-avian dinosaurs over millions of years. Feathers, for instance, likely originated for insulation or display before being co-opted for flight. This illustrates the important evolutionary principle of exaptation, where structures evolved for one purpose are repurposed for another. The diversity of feathered dinosaurs and early birds we've discussed demonstrates that evolution often proceeds in a bushy, rather than linear fashion. Many different lineages experimented with bird-like features, with modern birds representing just one successful outcome of this evolutionary experimentation. This underscores the role of contingency in evolution. The path of evolutionary history is not predetermined, but influenced by chance events and environmental changes. The process of miniaturization in the lineage leading to birds highlights how changes in body size can drive major evolutionary innovations. Becoming smaller opened up new ecological niches and facilitated the evolution of flight. This principle may apply to other major evolutionary transitions as well. Our discussion of flight evolution demonstrates the complexity of major evolutionary changes. Flight didn't evolve all at once, but through a series of intermediate stages, possibly including gliding and wing-assisted incline running. This gradual accumulation of adaptations is typical of how complex features evolve. The insights from developmental biology and genomics show how studying modern organisms can inform our understanding of evolutionary history. The reactivation of ancestral traits and the study of gene regulation are powerful tools for understanding how major evolutionary changes occur at a genetic level. The topic of convergent evolution highlights how similar environmental pressures can lead to similar adaptations in unrelated lineages. This suggests a degree of predictability in evolution, while also complicating our efforts to reconstruct evolutionary relationships. These findings have implications beyond paleontology. They provide case studies in how major evolutionary transitions occur, which could inform research in fields from evolutionary biology to astrobiology. Understanding how novel body plans and abilities evolve could help us better predict how organisms might adapt to future environmental changes. The study of bird evolution also intersects with important topics in ecology and conservation. Understanding the evolutionary history of birds can inform conservation efforts, helping us appreciate the unique evolutionary legacy represented by different bird groups. As we've seen, our understanding of bird evolution has been revolutionized in recent decades by new fossil discoveries, advanced analytical techniques, and insights from molecular biology. Yet many questions remain unanswered. How exactly did powered flight evolve? What allowed some bird lineages to survive the end Cretaceous extinction when others didn't? How did the major groups of modern birds originate and diversify? These open questions highlight the dynamic nature of scientific research. Our understanding is constantly evolving as new evidence comes to light and new analytical methods are developed. This makes the study of bird evolution an exciting and ever-changing field. For those of you inspired by what you've learned, there are many ways to engage further with this topic. You might visit a natural history museum to see fossil birds and dinosaurs up close. Or you could try birdwatching to observe the diversity of modern birds in your area. Reading popular science books or taking online courses can also deepen your understanding. Remember, every time you see a bird, you're looking at a living dinosaur, the product of over 150 million years of fascinating evolutionary history. By understanding this history, we gain a deeper appreciation for the natural world around us and our place within it. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the evolution of birds. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more content on evolutionary biology and paleontology. Feel free to share your thoughts or questions in the comments below. Until next time, keep exploring and stay curious.